Hi, Pete Knight here. In this video I'm going to talk to you about Footloops. I'm going to show you how to make up your own Footloops for SRT caving, either using one complete section of rope for both the stirrup section and the safety link, or two different sections of rope, or rope and like a manufactured webbing footloop. I'm not going to get into the detail about why I'm using any particular knots or particular ropes in this video, and that's because this is an accompaniment to a larger article that I've written over on the blog. If you head over to peakinstruction.com/blog, search out the footloop article, you'll find quite a lot of information there, so choices around the types of knots you use, selection of rope, and a bit of a discussion on the forces that are involved when we're using footloops. Obviously not just when you're stood in it, but also if your chest jammer was to come off during an SRT ascent and you ended up slipping back and dropping onto your safety link, the kind of forces that are involved in that, and that helps us kind of consider what the best components are. So this is going to be quite light on detail, this video, but I'm going to show you basically how to put these things together, what knots go where, and the kind of proportions that you need just to get you going. Okay, here we go. So firstly, thanks to Beth for getting into a caving gear on quite a warm day. We're going to start with a 3.5 to 4 metre length of 9mm low stretch rope. You need a bit more if you're taller, obviously. At one end we're going to tie a figure of 8 on the bite. This is going to be the harness attachment for the safety link. That's going to feed onto your D-mail on the top of the arc, and for most right-handed cavers you're also right leg dominant, so it wants to be on the right hand side of your harness as you look down to the right of your croll. Once that's all connected up, move your hands up the rope and you're going to tie an overhand on the bite, so a slightly more compact knot than the fig 8, and you can tie that around about face height. Attach in your hand jammer and its carabiner and see how that sits. So hand jammer wants to end up broadly at forehead height. At the other end of the rope, use up all the rope you've got left, just tying a big foot loop, and we're using a bowline here. Place your foot into the foot loop and make sure that your hand jammer sits above the chest jammer. If it's a long way above, shorten it a bit. If the two jammers come close together, lengthen it a bit. You don't want your two jammers to knock together while you're taking a step. When everything's fine-tuned and you've done your adjustments on here, you might still need to do it again when you get on a rope, but you can finish things off with a stopper knot just to use up any spare rope here. With your foot back in the foot loop then, check that you can take a full step up and a full step down without your ascenders clunking together or your safety link limiting the size of your step. If you're using a combination of a separate foot loop and safety link, then you're going to probably want dynamic rope. So here we've got a section of about 2 metres of 9mm dynamic rope. At one end I'm going to put a figure of 8 on the bite. At the other end I'm going to put an overhand on the bite. The overhand is for the hand jammer attachment and the fig 8 is for the harness attachment. So this is our safety link, so we're treating this as if it was an extra cow's tail, hence we're going to use dynamic rope. Again, this wants to be on the right hand side of the top of your D-mail or D-carabiner if you're right-handed or right leg dominant, and the whole assembly should sit round about face with the jammer around forehead height. So if you've got a manufactured foot loop like the webbing stitched one here, you can just add that onto the same carabiner. These are easy to adjust, they usually come with a buckle, and just like the all-in-one, you want to make sure that you can stand in the foot loop taking a full step up before your safety cord stops you, and making sure that your two jammers aren't going to clump together. If you're making your foot loop assembly out of rope, then what we've got here is around 3 metres of 9mm. Going to tie an overhand on the bite in one end, that's going to be attaching onto the hand jammer, and then down at the other end I'm going to tie a big foot loop here using a bowline again. See, the taller you are, the longer section of rope you'll need, and vice versa if you're a bit shorter. So with your foot in the bowline, again you're making sure that you can bring your legs straight without the jammers crunching together. So here that looks a bit long, so Beth's going to shorten that down. With your foot in, the hand jammer should sit above your chest jammer, and then when you're happy with your adjustments, again just finish off with a stopper knot to use up the spare rope there. Again, when you're stood in the foot loop, hand jammer should be above your chest jammer on the rope so they're not clunking together, and you should be able to take a full, comfortable step up without your safety link stopping you. Again, there's more detail over on the blog, peakinstruction.com/blog. Find the Footloop article and I'll explain why I'm choosing certain knots and certain ropes for this setup. Once again, thank you for watching.